find writing about these kinds of topics to be pretty difficult. Not because I have strong feelings one way or the other, or because I have strong leanings towards one political ideology or towards some other moral ideology, but I just have an extremely hard time caring. Often, when I look at an issue that the internet is up in arms about, I look at it and think, wow, people are putting a lot of time and effort and energy into this thing that has basically no effect on anyone's lives. And not only does it not have any effect on anyone's lives, but it doesn't really matter because nobody is impacted really positively or negatively. And the most recent of these internet outrages is people being upset that someone's face was put on a product. No, not that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. That's the one. And somehow this became like a political battleground. And I really just don't get it. Now, this isn't to me a roasting the conservatives or the slamming the liberals for politicizing this. I'm not interested in giving a political take because there are plenty of other people out there who are more than willing to do that. But my constant feeling with these kinds of situations is that people really need to not care as much as they do and just kind of move on with their lives. Now, obviously, we as a species love to be outraged, and we also love to defend things that we feel are attacking our values. But so many big things recently have really just been nothing burgers. Elon Musk took over Twitter and is going to start charging for blue checkmark verification and turn Twitter into a horrible cesspool of a platform? Okay, then just don't use Twitter. Mr. Beast is a horrible person because he's monetizing the suffering of others in order for personal profit. Okay, then just don't watch Mr. Beast. M&Ms are going woke because they're wearing different shoes. Okay, then just don't eat M&Ms. Bud Light is trying to push a political agenda because they put a transgender person on the can. Okay, then just don't buy Bud Light. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about interesting things that are happening in the world. It's fun to discuss not only the implications that they have, but also to explore the circumstances around which those decisions were made. But I am saying that it's kind of weird that something as inconsequential as animated genderless candies became the headline for one of the most watched news programs in the United States. Like seriously, who gives a As long as they don't change the flavor, I genuinely could not care less. And honestly, you shouldn't care either, because what impact could this possibly have on you? And now that I've got that bit of a rant out of the way, I want to talk specifically about the Bud Light situation and how we got here. First, I want to do a quick overview as to the circumstances surrounding why Bud Light went in the direction that they did that ultimately led to this big controversy. So Bud Light is a kind of very cheap beer, and it's owned by the parent company Anheuser-Busch. And Bud Light, along with a lot of other beers, have kind of a stereotype around them that they're consumed primarily by men and often at sporting events. Now, whether or not these stereotypes are actually true is completely irrelevant for this story. The important part is that these stereotypes exist. But in recent times, Bud Light has been more interested in cultivating a more inclusive image. They want to continue to be bought by men and also drank often at sporting events, but because men do not make up a majority of the population, they're missing out on a tremendous amount of potential profit by not being consumed by anyone other than frat dude bros. Now, I want to be clear here. I don't want this section taken as any kind of a political statement. I'm not going to make a value judgment on whether or not it's good or bad that they want to be consumed by more people. And it's also not a political statement on Bud Light's part to want to be consumed by more people. It's purely a profit statement. It's simple math that if more people are willing to buy a product, then probably you're going to make more money off of that product. You want your product, whatever it is, to have as wide of a potential appeal as possible so that the most amount of people might buy it and make you more money. More people equals more money. There's no political agenda here. It's purely 100% a profit agenda. So don't mistake this profit agenda for any kind of a political agenda. Now, it is worth noting that Bud Light has been on a decline for quite some time now, and this is long before any sort of political or wokeism controversy came about. And they, along with all of their investors, know that they've been on a decline recently. So one of the solutions to this decline that they put forward was making a more inclusive product that would have a wider appeal and potentially be bought by more people. And so to this end, they brought on Alyssa Heinerschnee, who is their new marketing director effective June of 2022. Not only is she the first female leader in Bud Light's 41-year history, but recently, during an interview, she said that her main objective was to shift the tone of the brand and have a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and better and different and appeals to women as well as men. She also went on to say that Bud Light has been kind of fratty and out of touch recently, and it's important that they try a new direction for their marketing. And what we're seeing now with this Dylan Mulvaney controversy is that new direction realized. sexualized. Something else you might have noticed in their marketing is they've been putting out a lot of commercials recently, prominently featuring women, either at sporting events or just with friends, enjoying their beer. And this is all part of their include more people to make more money marketing initiative. And now that we've got the groundwork laid out, we can fast forward to April of this year when Bud Light sent a special package to a TikToker by the name of Mulvaney. And the package was part of a sponsorship deal, and so she made a TikTok about it. And just to be sure that I'm being fair to both sides, I'm gonna play the TikTok in its entirety. It's only 48 seconds long, and you can always skip it if you've seen it.
Hi. Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers! Go team! Whatever team you love, I love too. Okay. Love ya. Okay, break a leg. Woo!
And as part of this package, they sent her a can of Bud Light that had her face on it. And this immediately blew up into like a bar fight type situation where two people start fighting and then slowly other people start joining in and then more people start joining in because everyone else is already fighting, and then more people start fighting and more people start fighting, and soon the entire bar is fighting. But then after about a minute, nobody's really sure why they're fighting anymore, but everyone continues to fight because that's what everyone else is doing. But in kind of a large top-down view, it was primarily more right-wing leaning media that was bashing Bud Light for going what they considered woke. And although some people did attack Mulvaney directly for being a trans person, this wasn't the majority of the conservative rhetoric around it. And if anyone did do that, that is absolutely worth criticizing, no matter what else is involved in the situation. But from what I can tell, most of the conservatives that had an issue with this viewed Bud Light as going political and having this as a political statement. And basically, they didn't want their beer to make political statements. But then people in left-leaning media were very quick to jump on the people from the right-leaning media and call them out as transphobic. And this, of course, led to a lot of Reddit and Twitter discourse, which, as always, is well thought out and very nuanced. And then basically the whole internet descended into fighting chaos. But now that we've kind of established a timeline of events here, I really want to talk about why this is such an incredibly stupid nothing burger of a situation. I want to start this section by reading one of the most upvoted comments from a Reddit post about this Bud Light backlash. My slant on this has nothing to do with left-right politics. I don't want a rainbow flag on my beer, or the Gadsden flag on my beer. I don't want Dylan's face or Walsh's face on my beer. When I sit down with my beer, it's actively to not think about political crap. It's already everywhere. Beer needs to be a no-fly zone for this. And on the surface, that seems like a reasonable argument. This based Reddit user is saying that they don't want their beer to be political. They just want their beer to be beer. Which again, that seems real reasonable to me. No left politics, no right politics, no flags, no politicians, just good old Bud Light in a can, beer being beer. The only issue with that comment is that all of this is already the case with Bud Light. It doesn't have a rainbow flag, or a Gadsden flag, or Dylan's face on it, or Matt Walsh's face on it. It doesn't have any political crap on it at all. It's literally just beer. And for those of you correcting me saying, yeah, but it actually does have Dylan Mulvaney's face on it, it literally doesn't. Because you cannot buy this can of beer anywhere. It was a one-time custom can that is entirely unavailable for sale to the general public. It was a publicity and marketing stunt by Bud Light to try and get their beer viewed as something that's more inclusive by inviting a trans person to make a sponsored post about it. It has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with profits. And that is the huge main reason that this feels like such a bizarre nothing burger of a situation. You can't buy this beer even if you wanted to. It doesn't exist. To be clear, if they did start running a special edition line of beer that did have Dylan Mulvaney's face on it, I still think that would be a bizarre nothing burger of a situation and stupid to get up in arms about. But as it stands, there is only one can of beer with her face on it in the world. So I cannot fathom why people are getting so upset about this. But let's say, hypothetically, that it was more than just one can of beer, but that they ran a special edition line where you could buy as many as you wanted of beer with her face on it. I still don't think that would be an issue at all, because the people who wanted to support Bud Light's new marketing tactic could buy Bud Light. And the people that don't want to support Bud Light's new marketing tactic can buy something else. We live in a profoundly free country where if you don't like one beer, you can buy the beer next to that, or the beer next to that, or the beer next to that for however long the alcohol aisle on Walmart goes. There is beer everywhere. And frankly, each and every one of them is going to taste just as bad as the one next to it because nobody actually likes Bud Light, right? But stepping back to our hypothetical, let's say they did run this limited edition line. Why would that be an issue? Celebrities have been put on and endorsed certain brands in exchange for just oogles of money for essentially as long as we have had celebrities. Why is it suddenly different? Because one of them transitioned and is a female. Now, from what I can tell, and I could be completely wrong about this, so if I am, feel free to correct me in the comments. But from what I can tell, the initial backlash came because people were upset that Dylan Mulvaney was sponsored by Bud Light, aka Bud Light went woke. And those people tend to be right-leaning conservatives. Now, I'm not saying people who are left-leaning and left-leaning media don't also get up in arms about incredibly stupid and dumb things. That is not my argument here. I'm just saying, I believe when it comes to this kind of wokeism argument, it's primarily championed and forwarded by more right-wing media groups and conservative people. But it is odd how inconsistent this is. Michael Phelps was on cornflakes, and nobody really cared. Bob Harper was on oatmeal, and nobody really cared. But then Dylan Mulvaney does beer, and suddenly everyone loses their minds. And for those of you saying that it's different because they don't represent wokeism or forwarding a woke agenda, then I would point you towards Chobani's sponsorship of Cody Rigsby, who, for those of you that don't know, is very openly gay. But despite looking, I could not find a single article calling out Chobani saying that they were trying to push a woke agenda by plastering Cody Rigsby all over their packaging. Really, with Dylan Mulvaney, it feels like the only reason that people have a problem with this one is because she transitioned. And that really feels like the exact definition of transphobia to me, which, to be clear, is bad. Now, if you're someone who's upset because you don't want your beer to be political, then I would say that's fine. I agree. And you can rest easy tonight knowing that your beer isn't political. Even if you wanted it to be political, it still wouldn't be. Now, if you're someone that's upset because you feel like Bud Light has gone woke or is now pushing a woke agenda, I would say don't worry about that either, because it's not a woke agenda. It's a profit agenda. They haven't been doing so well in recent times, and this is a way to try and turn that around. But if you're someone that's upset that Dylan Mulvaney got her face on one can of beer that one time, and you see that as a problem because she's not a real woman, she's just a man that's mutilated herself in order to play pretend as a woman, then absolutely go f*** yourself.